I never felt accepted, so I was the mean girl in school. I was bullied as a young girl, so I changed who I was to be accepted. And looking back now, I just did anything for people to accept me and to like me. And what I didn't realize was that Christ's love and acceptance was in front of me all along.
This is Pastor Brian. I want to welcome you to our weekly Celebrate Recovery podcast. And to start off in our Celebrate Recovery way, I'm Brian, grateful believer in Jesus Christ, struggle with pride, anger, and anything a man struggled with, I've done it. So this week, I'm going to be talking with Rachel, and she normally attends our Statesville campus, and known Rachel, I guess, for about 2 years, 2.5 years almost. And
working on 3.
Well, almost 3. Yeah, it's just going by quickly. And that's one thing you didn't realize. 3 years almost. How about that?
I know.
So
I know.
We're just going to kind of talk. And Rachel, I met. She's one of those I remember the first time that walked in, and over 2 years ago now, and through various circumstances, with some hurts, habits, and hang-ups, led her to Celebrate Recovery, and at that point in her life, and she got connected to the Statesville campus. But just real briefly, what led you there? Not with the full testimony, but just a 50,000-foot overview, I guess.
It's wild how we ended up at Statesville. I actually was going to rehab up in East Bend, North Carolina, Solus Christus. It's a wonderful women's program. And they started us going to Celebrate Recovery. And I had never been to a place like that. So when I moved home, I had told my parents about it when I was still at Solus Christus. So they were like, you're going to keep going. And at the time, I didn't have a license. I didn't have a car. I didn't really have a choice. I was back at my parents' house. I didn't want to. But I was in their house. I was going to do whatever they told me to do. So it was a Thursday night, and we looked it up online, and we found some. We live in Cleveland, North Carolina, so we found one in Salisbury. We drove all the way to Salisbury, found the church, and to find out it had disbanded after COVID. So we just kind of sat there. We looked up another one. We found Statesville's address. We were like, well, let's just try this one. We drove all the way from Salisbury to Statesville.
That's almost an hour.
Yeah, so we drove all the way there. We pulled in, we saw people outside, and I was ticked. I didn't want to be there. But I saw...
So you were hoping that one was shut down too?
Yes. I was fine with Salisbury not having it. So I was like, this probably won't work out anyway, so I happily rode there. But then I saw people outside, and I saw they were all smoking, and I had never seen people smoke at a church. And I was a smoker, a heavy smoker at the time. So I was like, I guess I can stay here. I don't really want to be here, but at least I can have a cigarette while I'm here. So we came in. I'm not going to say I enjoyed it the first time. I was mad at the world. I was mad at myself. I was mad at my parents. I was just mad. I was newly sober, and that's not a fun experience anyways, living with my parents at 27 years old. So I just kind of sat in the back and sulked in the back corner for a while, and that's when I met you. Mm-hmm. I met Jeff Bussell, too, and I really enjoyed connecting with him and his wife, Jennifer. Mm-hmm. And then, we left, and I don't know that we came back for a couple weeks, but then we eventually ventured back out because we started doing, I called it like the Holy Trinity of CRs. We came to Hickory one time, we came to Statesville, and then we'd go to Moxville on Tuesdays. Mm-hmm. So eventually we just decided that we liked Statesville the best, so we were just going to keep coming to Statesville. We really felt at home at Statesville, just with the people and everything. So it took me probably 2 months, I would probably say, to start going to small group, to really start making connections and friends, and people started recognizing us when we were coming back, so that was nice. And I didn't hate coming after a while.
Okay. Just to go back just a minute, you mentioned that you felt you visited various ones and checked them out, and you spent some time searching. Now, granted, they all probably had the same message and all that, but one thing about Celebrate Recovery is held in churches, so there is a unique DNA for each place, each location that holds it. Speak to that a minute. Not necessarily what stood out at Statesville, but what made you feel comfortable there?
It was wild how different each campus is. And it's not in a bad way, that's just different. And it kind of, I can correlate it to like finding your church home. You know, you can go to different churches, they can speak the same message, but it's just a different feeling.
Yeah.
And it was the people that I connected with in Statesville. You know, I found sisters and brothers in Christ that they looked at me like they looked in the mirror. You know, they'd done stuff just like I had, but nobody judges people there. You can come in and it can be the worst day of your life and you're still going to get a hug and somebody tell you, hey, how are you? Here's a hot meal.
Yeah.
Like, I hope you come back. And it was just really like a acceptance that I had been looking for a very long time, and I didn't even know it.
So where you're sitting now, if you were talking to Rachel walking in the door 3 years ago, and you're sharing what you know now with I like to word it as look for yourself walking across the parking lot for the first time, you would be safe to say you'd advise them to say, hey, check out some other places, because you've got to find where you fit and where recovery works for you.
Right. And definitely. I mean, recovery is a personal journey for everybody, and you've got to find your recovery family. And you can choose this family. You know, it's and every
that's beautiful. You choose I like that. So now you mentioned one other thing about going to share groups for the first time. So you said that took a few weeks?
Yeah, I did not want to go in a share group at all.
Why is that?
I was just very uncomfortable. I guess sharing, you know, I didn't think like nobody's had it bad as me, you know. And just the thought of really being vulnerable in front of a group of people that I did not know was not a fun thought for me at all. But when I got in there, I think I talked the first time. I honestly can't remember now.
What got you in the door the first time? What made you decide to take the journey from the seat in the large group to a seat in the share group? You
had encouraged me to go every week, I think. And then I think it was my mom probably. She's like, you know, why don't you just try it? Just try it. We've been coming. Just see what you think about it. And I was like, okay. And my parents went too. So they went to their own separate group. So I kind of felt like we all had a place to go. You know, I didn't feel like, at first they were just coming for me, and I know that, and I needed them there, you know, and I really realized how much I need my parents. But it made me feel not so singled out when they had somewhere to go to. It didn't make me just feel like, oh, we need to take her here. She's going to relapse. Something's going to happen. It just made me feel more like I'm a part of this now. It's not because of me, like we're just a part of CR.
Oh, wow. And then the first time you walked in, you said, you know, most people don't share, some do, but at what point did it start, I like to say, clicking in the share group? The first time when it finally, you sit in there and you're like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't quite as bad as I thought it would be, but I can kind of see where this is going to help. It's going to take some work and some commitment on my part, but I can see where it's going to help. How long did that take?
Solid few months. Solid. At first, it was just kind of like for me, I was just unloading. I had been mad and sad and in an awful place for so long, and I could openly talk about what I'd been through, and it helped. It was really therapeutic. But after that, it's like I kind of just felt a peace because I got it all out. You know, it wasn't just sitting on my chest. I didn't feel like I had to explain myself anymore. Then I really realized that it can be therapeutic and really help me through my recovery to actually work these steps. Like, these steps do make sense to walk through.
So you spent a few months just taking the trash out. I mean, just letting everything out.
Word vomiting.
I
mean, I was having a lot of legal troubles, and a lot of the girls, they understood, you know, like, oh, I had gone through that too. You know, I was on probation. I had a DWI charge. I was facing felony charges. And it was a lot, you know, and I deserved everything I got charge-wise. By the grace of God, all that's been dismissed now. I don't have anything on my record, and I'm working to get my record expunged. But I could just talk about it, and it just felt good, you know, and they just listened, and it was really nice not to be judged.
So you felt comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be, would you encourage somebody with that? I mean, like what you just said there as far as being comfortable. You could say, wait a minute, it's just not quite as bad. And that's kind of what I think I was saying, and everybody that encouraged you to go, but you ultimately you had to take the step. So you had to take the step. So, and that's speak to that a minute, taking the step.
I think me taking the step and just kind of like, it helped me that other women were in there taking the step with me. Because I think I associated church and admitting my sin with shame, you know, and especially just some of the stuff in my past. And it was especially, I think, women and like sexual sin and stuff we've been through in relationships. We don't want to talk about that with anybody. And there were women in there just openly sharing. Like, I have a really good friend, and she started sharing about her past with that kind of stuff. And I was just like, thank God. You know, thank God. Yeah. So I could take the step to really admit some stuff that I had been holding in and hiding, and it was just so toxic to me. And you just feel lighter, you know, and if you take that step and just trust people that are in your group, they didn't go out and talk about me. They didn't go and tell their best friend at work, oh, you know, Rachel did this 2 years ago. And it was just very, very secure. I felt safe. And I hadn't felt safe in a long time. So just taking the step of trusting the people in my group was huge. And the women in the group with me really helped me do that.
So a wall of shame was broken down by trust. And then also the ability to feel safe. And then also the ability to share freely. So,
and knowing I wasn't alone, I wasn't the only one that made stupid decisions and bad relationships, and you know, other people had done it too, and that made me feel better.
Yep, we're all messed up.
Yeah,
we all you know, like I say, if you know, if you're not in Celebrate Recovery, for a hurt habit or hang up that we all have, we need to talk about step one, which is denial. So, and speaking of step one, at what point through your journey, and you mentioned you'd been to Celebrate Recovery a little bit in your in the rehab part. Was there a point that the denial you pulled out of that denial, and it may have been before we met, or you may have still been in some when you walked in the door about it. So, was that the case, or was it a little bit of both? Or
I was in denial about everything not being someone else's fault. You know, it was. I knew what I was doing was wrong at that point. You know, I knew I needed to stop doing drugs. I knew that it was killing me. I knew it was killing my family. And I had accepted that. But I was blaming everybody else. You know, it was his fault that I started using. It was their fault they gave me the drug in the first place. I'm mad at all these people because I'm in this situation that I put myself in. You know, I made these decisions. And looking in the mirror and really telling yourself, like, you messed up. You made these decisions. And now you just need to deal with it. You need to admit it, and you need to grow up and move on. And that sucked. Yeah. That sucked for a long time.
That's fine. Yeah.
But it helps you grow up. You know,
because
I thought I knew everything.
The one in the mirror is our worst enemy. The one that we look at every morning, and that's our worst enemy in recovery and in.
And my mom used to tell me growing up, like, you better be happy with yourself because you're with yourself every single day of your life. And I hated it when she said that when I was in high school. But it makes a lot of sense to me now.
You weren't happy with yourself at that point?
I mean, I had put on a mask starting when I was a young teenager, young. And I kind of kept that facade through my early 20s. And that's what I was like, playing a character almost of what I thought people wanted me to be and what I thought I should be. I never felt accepted, you know, so I was the mean girl in school. I was bullied as a young girl, so I changed who I was to be accepted. And looking back now, like, I just did anything for people to accept me and to like me. And what I didn't realize was that Christ's love and acceptance was in front of me all along. And it was a 20-year downhill slide until I turned to meth to make me feel like I wanted to get out of bed in the morning, to realize that's how, like, it's just a wild experience to look back that far.
And that's something that we hear, and I hear just talking with folks pretty much every week, is that acceptance and trying to fit in and just trying to be what somebody else wants me to be, or just it all follows that same line there. And when did that change for you? And you mentioned a little bit about accepting what Jesus had done for you, and that love and that grace. When did you come to understand that?
I can't tell you like an exact marked moment. It was just kind of, it's gradual. You know, it makes me think about that verse, like God doesn't drive out all your enemies in front of you all at once. He does it little by little. You know, and that's kind of how my walk and my recovery has been. I didn't just wake up one day and think I'm worthy, I'm accepted. You know, it took a long time. It took a long time. And I would tell myself that out loud. I would repeat Bible verses. I got this little Joyce Meyer. My mom got it for me to speak the word out loud, like who you are in Christ. You know, like I'm rooted in Christ. I'm God's masterpiece, no matter what I've done. And the story of the woman that was caught in adultery, and Jesus, you know, knelt down and spoke with her, and they were going to stone her. You know, and he gave stones. Everybody was like, whoever is without sin, cast the first stone. And then he told her to go and sin no more. And that they told us that was like the basis of our rehab where I went, Solar Christus. So I think about that a lot, you know, and I think about the Samaritan woman at the well, you know, just outcasts that Jesus brought in and accepted and made a point to love. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you mentioned it being gradual. And one thing we talk a lot about is a heart condition in our recovery, but we also talk about renewing our mind. So was that maybe a process of renewing your mind by taking all that old out of the fit in and replacing that with that love and with that grace, and then being able to process that with your heart?
100%.
Is that it? Okay.
I mean, being in the Word every day has changed me inside and out. And I mean, I don't spend 2 hours in the Bible. You know, I would like to do better just because it makes me feel so much better. Like I can tell if I don't read in the mornings. It's amazing. It truly transforms your mind, and I can just look out and like I see beauty in the world now. I used to be so cynical and angry, and I'm just not like that anymore. And that's truly a testament of God inside me, because I'm not the same person, and I know it's His sanctification in me and the renewing of His Spirit in me and my mind and my heart and just everywhere.
Wow, beautiful. So you wholeheartedly practice and believe it's got to be renewed each and every day, as close as we can get to it. I mean, we know, but you mentioned you noticed when you don't do it. So that's something that you recognize now that 4 years ago would have been probably as furthest from your mind as anything.
Yeah,
that's not going to help anything. What I need that for?
Definitely not.
So that's cool. I mean, that offers so much encouragement just in that little bit there of somebody that comes in. So it's safe to say, you know, now that recovery, Celebrate Recovery, 12 steps, and everything involved in that is not a quick fix. It takes time, it takes commitment, and takes work on your part.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. It's daily, and I don't think you ever complete, like, Celebrate Recovery. You know, I know when I was on probation, you had helped me to say that, you know, I'm participating in Celebrate Recovery. They wanted, like, a letter of completion. And I told, you don't complete it. Like, it's not you don't go for 365 days and you're better and you can go on with your life.
So you told your PO that?
Yeah. I was like, that's, and even on my court paperwork, I'm working on getting my record expunged.
I love it.
It said it can be discharged once you've completed Celebrate Recovery. I'm like, you don't complete it. I'm still going.
That ought to be enough answer right there. Hey, I'm going to do this the rest of my life.
Yeah. So
and that's the reality of it. Is if once you make the commitment, your recovery has to be renewed just like your mind each and every day. You got to work it each and every day, every minute, because you know, you just never know. And then that comes with making good, healthy decisions and healthy choices based on wisdom that you've gained while working your recovery. Because I think it's safe to say now that there's places you know that you don't need to go.
Yeah.
and people you don't need to be calling and friending on Facebook and all that other stuff. You know, with wisdom about your recovery, I don't even need to associate with that.
No, me and my husband both are completely off of social media. I mean, that's just part of our recovery, you know.
Yeah.
Not like that's not a requirement, but
Yeah.
it's just, and you can tell when you get around those people. And I'm lucky enough to be out of the city that I used in. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm far away. I'm hours away.
Yeah.
So I'm not around those people, places, and things anymore. I'm around the village that God put me in, and that has, in and of itself, has been such a great help.
Yeah. So you've got to keep people like you've heard me say it because you just quoted it, but you've got to keep the people, places, and things around you that support your recovery. Speak to that a minute. Speak to the changes you had to make there. You mentioned social media as one.
Yeah. But, I can't tell you how many times I quit when I was living where I was living, you know, but I was around the same people, places, and things that I knew I could get drugs. I knew that I could go party with them, or I knew that this person would drive me to drink. You know, it's just, or it's almost impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I cannot see how I ever would have gotten clean if I did not move home.
Yeah.
Or moved around my family, moved around support group, people who love me and who pray for me and who want the best for me and who are willing to tell me, like, you are messing up. Like, you've got to get your life together. You've got to do something better than what you're doing.
That's there's two things I want to highlight there. One, you mentioned you quit multiple times, and that was Rachel quitting, right? That was just, I'm done. And then, but that didn't work out, did it?
Never.
Because that was just Rachel trying to quit. And then you mentioned that you finally made a decision to separate yourself, and then with, you know, the help of having a loving family that's been there waiting and just brought you back in, you walked into that, and they provided the resources and helped that beginning. But speak to that time frame in between there. You could have very easily left and went back, right? And then, but what made you stay?
I think the Lord took away all my resources to leave when he knew I would have ran. I didn't have a car. I didn't have money. I couldn't seem to maneuver my way into getting away from home.
So you were trying.
I was trying.
You were trying.
Know, anything I could think of, it's like just got squashed. Anything I could think of. And being a drug addict, people who have used, you come up with some unique solutions to get what you want.
Oh, I've heard them.
Yeah. So whatever. And it was just, I was so mad. I had a bicycle that I could ride around my parents' neighborhood, and that's it. That was my wheels.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford a phone.
Yeah.
So I had to sit there with myself and just really realize where I was and what I had been doing. So when I did get a job, I had been sober long enough to realize I probably shouldn't do what I had been doing. Would it be smart to run? Would it be smart to go back? So it's as I got a little more sense, I started getting a little more freedom. I started getting a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And it's just, and the longer you are sober, for me, it was hard to go back because I know how hard it was to get sober.
Yeah. And then you mentioned, you know, you sat with yourself, but the longer you were sober, it sounds like to me you were making better choices. And did that come from just time of your mind getting clear? Is the way the way I like to word it is, you know, it takes time to get all that stuff out.
It
all
really
the chemicals
does.
out for you to make those logical choices and rational decisions, because all those other stories and plans you came up with are still floating around in a chemical filled brain.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, and I'm so thankful to the Lord that he took away all my resources, you know, because I was delusional 100%, and I didn't realize it. And I think too, when I did finally I was more level headed. That's when I started reading the Bible more. So it helped me think, more rationally, more like, make decisions that I should make. I was going to Bible study. I was singing in the choir at my aunt's church, so I was surrounded with God-loving people. I was worshiping the Lord. I was learning the word. So it's, as I got more clear-headed, I knew what decisions were better. So the stupid decisions I was making just started making less and less sense. And I realized how happy I was.
Now, was that at the point when you went to rehab, or was this post?
Oh, that's way post.
Way post
way
rehab?
post
Okay.
rehab.
Okay. Yeah, way post.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's cool. How long of a time frame was there from like rehab to that point you were, I mean, just roughly, and I'm just.
My last overdose was May of 2021. I left rehab early. They wanted me to stay for a year, and I stayed for like 15 days and decided I was coming home. I wasn't staying there anymore.
You got that now.
Yeah. So, yeah. It was probably about a year, to be honest. Christmas is a big, that's a memory for me, for sure. I was more level-headed. I was singing the Living Christmas Tree at a Salisbury church. I was about to get off. Was I about to get off or on probation? All that is fuzzy. Just that whole timeline is very fuzzy. But I would probably say a year is how long it took me to really kind of get over that hump.
Kind of like a daily. There was some time in a fog, and then the fog cleared, and then you started, I guess, maybe each day taking gradually one more step towards recovery, into recovery, away from the other side of your out of your addiction. And what were those days like? Were they easy?
No, no. It was a whirlwind. It was not easy. No. I don't know what kind of word would describe it, but easy is not it.
What encouragement or word of hope could you give somebody that's sitting in that spot right now?
That the hell that is not worth the glory blessings that you have coming. Because I think that for me, the hell I knew was comfortable. I knew I was a slave to drugs and the people that I was with. And I was comfortable there because I knew that. I had been there for years. It's not worth it. The blessings on the other side of you quitting and post-bondage with all of those things, it cannot compare. Yeah. It sucks for a little bit, but it is so worth it.
Yeah.
It is so worth it. I would do it again 100 times to feel like I feel now and be where I am today.
Oh, wow.
As much as it sucked and as much turmoil as I was in, I would do it 100 times over.
So recovery is work.
Yeah.
Hard work.
Mm-hmm. And it's daily work.
That nobody can do, but nobody can work it harder than you.
Right. And having somebody work your recovery is not fair to them. Mm-hmm. Your family loves you so much. You've got to stand up and decide that you're not going to put them through whatever it is anymore. Your spouse, your kids, your cousins, whoever it is that wants you to recover so badly. I mean, you need to want this for you, because them wanting it for you is not going to make you better.
And you mentioned your parents, which I know them. They are outstanding people, and I remember them. I met them the first night that you walked in, and we stood there by the door and just talked briefly. And how impactful were they from that point to where you moved back home to where you are now?
I mean, foundationally impactful. I can't say, I don't have the vocabulary to say how thankful I am for my parents. They've shown me what true forgiveness really looks like. They have every right never to speak to me again after what I put them through, over and over, knowingly put them through. But I'm so, so thankful for my parents. And they are God-fearing, God-loving people. And they have really shown me what a relationship with the Lord should look like, what a marriage relationship would look like, how to be parents. Just to me and my sister, they're such good parents and such good people.
Yeah.
And I would not be where I was today, obviously without the Lord. But I'm so thankful that He chose to give me the parents that He gave me.
And it sounds like they'd been the road, and when you came back, it sounds like they maybe put some boundaries in place.
Yeah.
Speak to those.
I think
Not necessarily specifically, but were they crucial? And even though they probably were very uncomfortable and were certainly not what you had in mind, how impactful and how what part did the boundaries that they put in place play to where we're sitting here talking today?
I always knew in my addiction, like, that I could go home. I knew my parents would let me come back home. So it's almost, I knew that, like, I had that safety net, which, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But when I left rehab, my mom was furious.
Yeah.
My mom was furious. They had to come pick me up, and it was just it was awful, and she had every right to be mad.
Yeah.
But she basically said to me, like, you're just going to go and do the same thing all over again. This is what's going to continue to happen, and we don't want you at home. And it really dawned on me, like, I've messed up this bad. Like, they don't even want me in their house. And that hurt. Like, that really hurt. That really, really impacted me. That they would think that about me. Like, that's how far I had fallen. That my own mom would think that this is what I'm going to continue to do for the rest of my life. And she don't want me in her house.
And you're basically toxic to the house.
Yeah, I'm toxic. I bring nothing but, like, misery. And she wasn't wrong. She wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
But just to hear it come from her is what made the difference for me. And that's really what made me think, like, I can do this. It made me mad. I think I acted mad at her, but I was mad at myself. Like, I really can do this. If I have my own mother thinking this about me, there's something needs to change.
So you said you were mad at yourself. So would it be safe to say there was some shame at that point?
Oh yeah. I mean, big time. So I had worked very hard to hide my addiction from my parents. Very hard for a long time until it all just kind of came crashing down. So I didn't want them to know. Obviously I didn't want them to know. But yeah, I was a very, very shame-based person. Very. And I didn't even know that or what the repercussions that it could cause in your life to be rooted in shame just as a person for so many years. I never would have known that if I didn't start coming to CR, because you don't just wake up one morning and decide you're going to start smoking meth. That's not just, you don't wake up on a sunny day and think that's just what you're going to do.
Yeah.
You have a lot of deep-seated issues that you're running from. And if you don't solve the drug issue, you're never going to be able to look, like, deep in yourself and be like, why did I start doing this in the first place? And if you don't deal with that, you're always going to end up in the same place if you don't deal with the root.
Yeah, the root of the
issue.
The root of the fruit is the way I like to say that. The root of the fruit. But at what point, and this is real vague, but when grace overtook the shame, when the understanding of grace and love overtook the shame.
I think it was the first time I actually gave, like, a small testimony at an Easter service at the church I was going to with my aunt. And that I really prayed about it, and I just speaking it and really realizing, like, hearing myself say.
You spoke it.
Yeah.
And you heard what came out of your, okay.
Yeah, I heard what came out of my mouth. And it's like, I know that I wrote it, like, with my hands, but those weren't my words. And the last thing I said was, like, my name's Rachel. I am redeemed. I am redeemed.
Yeah.
And that song, too, I think it's Big Daddy Weave that sings it.
Yeah.
Just, I am redeemed, and I am a child of God. I made some really, really bad mistakes, but that's how God showed me how much he loves me. You're never falling too far for God's grace, ever.
Yeah. So you fully believe grace was gone before you and got you out of some stuff and got you to where you were, and
100%, 100%. I was relentlessly pursued by the Holy Spirit, relentlessly pursued by his love and his grace.
But sometimes we're real good at running.
Yeah. but he's real good at chasing.
There you go. I like it.
But yeah, his love abounds, and it like abounds in me and through me, and you can just feel it every single day. And looking at where you came from to where I'm sitting now, it's just palpable what the Lord has done.
So where we're sitting now is we've known each other almost 3 years, and so you're 2+ years into your sobriety, and in the meantime, you've done gone and gotten married, and got a little one on the way,
And bought a home.
and bought a house.
Yeah.
Speak to that a minute. Was that ever?
No, I've been evicted from 2 homes because I was so depressed. I couldn't keep it clean. I was evicted. I was renting, and I'd go to work, come home, drink till I passed out, woke up, drank some more, went to work. Same on repeat, I hadn't slept in a bed in like 3 years. I would just lay on the couch, and there's literally like a U shape on my couch from my body and my dogs. We would stay there, and that's where we lived. I was too depressed to brush my teeth, brush my hair, and I was working as a nurse, so I had just had scrubs that I could keep clean. They'd lay by the couch. My alarm would go off. I'd change, feed the dogs, go back to work.
Yeah.
And that was my life for a significant period of time. So when I moved back in with my parents, that was very good. And then I started seeing someone, and we knew that we wanted to be together. And I told him, I was like, I can't rent anywhere. And he has a similar history to me. So we were like, I don't know what we're going to do. And I filed for bankruptcy also in November of 2021. I lost everything.
Yeah.
I had nothing. I had nothing, and my husband was homeless for a number of years. My husband's a veteran, and when he got back home, it was really, really hard for him. So he was homeless. He lost everything. He was on drugs, and we were praying about it. We wanted to get married. We were staying at his little 600 square foot apartment. It was above the garage apartment. I mean, it was tiny. We were so happy there, but we didn't know what we were going to do. So we got engaged, and we're planning a wedding within 3 months. So I got married November of last year, then 3 or 4 months. And our families obviously were a huge part in that.
Yeah.
We were looking for homes during that time. He got approved for a VA home loan. So we got married in November, bought a home in January. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And it was an estate sale. So a person who had passed away that owned the home, when we got the home, it just came with all the stuff in it. We had everything we needed on top of on top of wedding presents. We had everything we could ever need. And we both have good jobs. We can afford the mortgage. We moved in January on my birthday. Actually, we bought the home. We closed on the home. In May of this year, found out that we were expecting. So February or January of this upcoming year, we'll have a little boy.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you're working now?
Working for a lawyer, actually.
Yeah. We'll have to talk about that some more. Wow. God has a sense of humor sometimes, doesn't he?
Yes.
With all that. And then, I think it would be really, because I know your hubby also, and he's had a journey. I think it'd be really cool if we got both of y'all together in the room here one day and talk, because I'd really, the thing that I admire about y'all is there's a lot of times people get connected to recovery, and you open with it very well. When things get going pretty good, they stop. And they think they've got it. And sometimes they do.
Yeah.
Sometimes they go out and can maintain, and but there's always something missing if they're truly honest with themselves. But you two have stayed connected. You stayed involved, and now come as a husband and wife to recovery together, and go to your respective groups independently and maintain that recovery, because that's something I'd like to, if y'all are interested, that's something I'd really love to have a conversation with y'all about, how you're maintaining it. And also, because I know there's some challenges working through that first 12 months of marriage in any way, shape, or form. Marriage is a challenge for the whole time you're married, but especially with a recovery element in a marriage. I'd like to, especially early on, I'd like to.
And it's been, for us, I don't want to say, I'm not saying like it's been, and it has, honestly, it has been easy.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work at home. Like we verbally tell each other, like God comes first and then it's you.
Yeah.
It's a lot of us being very open with each other, but I'm not going to say it's hard because it's not hard, but it is work.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, though, and we'll kind of tie things up because I want to lay the foundation for the next conversation we have. But where you're sitting today, relationship-wise, would that have even been possible if you didn't do almost 2 years worth of legwork and recovery prior to entering that relationship?
Never. I was a toxic person.
Yeah.
I was with toxic people, but I myself was a very toxic person, and I didn't even know it. And we had started dating and broke up, and it was, I just didn't understand. I was like, what is wrong with him? But it was me too. It really, so I started praying about it. And if you want to know, just pray about it. It was me. It was me too. It was, and God got a hold of both of us. When we did, it took a couple months. We didn't stay apart for too long.
Yeah.
We really started talking about it, and, we were able to apologize to each other. I put God-like expectations on his shoulders. So I wanted him to take care of me, and that's not fair.
Yeah.
Nobody can process or do anything under that amount of pressure. So once we came to terms and looked in the mirror with ourselves and what we did wrong, it's just been.
So you're saying that this is going to really set this up, and we're going to leave it right here. But you're saying when we're learning about amends in recovery, you've been able to apply those in your married life.
I never really thought about it like that, but yeah. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were very quick to say that was my fault. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, that's on me. I'm sorry. And then we just move on.
So there's little things that you've got to work your recovery. I always generally like to say recovery plus relationships generally equals disaster, because you've got to really be prepared to enter a relationship, because you've had a whole lot of, if we're honest, a whole lot of train wrecks relationship-wise before that. So if you enter that and throw that in the mix, unless you're really prepared, prepared, but also willing to work it and make those necessary changes and adjustments and make those necessary admissions that, wait a minute, this may not be all about me like it used to be.
Yeah. And it's,
does that sound fair?
Very. And it's freeing too, because we both know he's not perfect and he knows I'm not perfect. And we're not going to expect perfect performance from people that aren't perfect.
So oh, wow. You'll hear this a lot if you're around Christ Church, but, a marriage is two imperfect people trying to have a perfect relationship. So
that very well describes us.
And it's just not going to happen.
No. We're trying our best every single day.
Yeah.
And sometimes, we're exhausted, so we just sit on the couch and watch a show and eat our supper, and it's like the best time either one of us has ever had, and we're sober.
Wow.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Well, I am looking forward to the next conversation with you and Michael, and I think I've got you, Mom and Dad, lined up to come in here and have a convo. Also, they'll be coming from a little different angle, and I'm excited to do that, because they are outstanding people, and the thing about them is they just as committed to coming to recovery, celebrate recovery, as you are. So that's the beauty in it. So cool. Well, thank you for the time, and we are going to schedule another date soon. And I've really enjoyed this, and thank you. And any last little thing you want to leave a little something for somebody listening that may be listening for the first time and may be contemplating coming to celebrate recovery for the first time, and this is their first engagement with it.
Really, the only thing you need to know is God loves you, and we love you too. It doesn't matter what you've done or what you're planning on doing, what you're holding in your hand right now. You know, I never went anywhere without a bowl or a lighter.
Yeah.
God loves you, you know, and it's come as you are, 100% as you are.
Oh, well. Cool. Well, thank you, Rachel, and we will get together again soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.